What's up, everybody? Hello, and we got another edition of just a stream here. It's something new. So, joined with me today is Abdul from ChiBearsBlitz, and in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the NFC North offensive position group. So, quarterbacks, the backfields, wide receiver trios, offensive lines, and all that. So, Abdul. He operates at ChiBearsBlitz. He has a podcast, exclusively Bears. I'm sure you could have guessed that by looking at his background. But yeah, Abdul, why don't you tell us a little bit about your
of course
podcast?
So I'm the host or co-host of a podcast, the ChiBearsBlitz podcast, with my friend Omar. We talk everything Chicago Bears. It's a weekly podcast, and we've been doing it for about almost 2 months now. It's been really fun. We've also been posting a lot on social media, on TikTok, everything. And then we also have another podcast.
He is on TikTok.
Yeah, I am on TikTok. Oh, that's funny that he's on. Yeah, we have another one, a Real Talk Network. That's like another podcast. That's all the entire NFL. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been great and excited to talk about all the NFC offensive players in NFC North.
Yeah. So as most of you guys know who watch this channel, I'm a Packers fan. Abdul is clearly a Bears fan, so we might disagree.
We might, but we'll try to have some common ground.
We'll put our differences aside, though.
Yeah,
sure. We can start with the NFC North quarterbacks and just ranking them. So we're going to start 4-1, and then maybe just give a little reason why. So basically, just here's the names of the quarterbacks in the NFC North. So the Bears is Dalton/Fields. We don't know who's going to start yet. It looks like it's going to be Dalton, but
yeah, it's looking like.
You never know. Lions are starting Jared Goff. Vikings have Kirk Cousins. Kellen Mond's on the roster too, but I don't think he'll start yet. And then Packers have Rodgers, hopefully. If not, Jordan Love.
Actually, not hopefully.
Yeah, Jordan Love is looking like he would be the backup. But we can start, and I think we have the same exact list for this one.
Yeah, we definitely have the same exact list.
So number 4, who is the 4th best quarterback /
I have it as Dalton/Fields. Even if it was just Dalton just starting, still the worst quarterback in the division. But I think that Fields, hopefully, I'm very high on Fields, as I'm sure many Bears fans are. But I still think that he's an unproven. He's a wild card. We don't know if Goff has been proven in the NFL. He's not flashy or he's not insane, but I still think that he's not on the same level. Especially we haven't seen him take a snap in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And yeah, it's more of not like we think Fields is going to be bad because I think he was the 3rd best quarterback. I think he was close with Wilson. And I think you have him as what? You had him as your 2nd quarterback in the draft?
Yeah, but he's low-key becoming my number 1, man. I'm convincing myself every day that he's better than T-Law.
Exactly. So
but I had him as my number 2 before the draft.
Yeah, so we think very highly of him. It's more of just the fact that we don't know how he's going to be. I mean, a lot of people thought Ryan Leaf was going to be good back in the day, and he ended up not being good. Now, it's basically we don't know. And then with Dalton, I actually don't think he's completely terrible. I thought he was all right for the Cowboys.
I don't think he's bad. I think he's very underrated, or not very underrated, but last year he was not in a good position. He had his receivers were good, but they were dropping some of the most balls in the league. And then that O-line play was disgusting last year for the Cowboys.
They had injuries.
And then you also take into account that he came to the team with no offseason program. He got thrown into the game in the middle of a Week 5 game. Because Dak Prescott got injured, and his coach is Mike McCarthy, and you know very much about Mike McCarthy.
Not ideal.
Yeah, definitely not ideal. So I think that people are slandering him a little bit too much. I don't think he's the worst quarterback in the league. I think he's serviceable. I think he still has a little bit left in the tank, but definitely not better than any of the quarterbacks in the NFC North.
Yeah, you can roll out a lot worse quarterbacks than Andy Dalton. And I think, even on the Bengals, he was more of like a game manager, and they kind of relied on just having a good defense and O-line and running the ball. But I think he has a few good years left where,
I think so.
He's not going to be a complete liability, but he's also not going to carry the roster. That's for sure. But I guess next we can go to the 3rd. And who is that, Abdul?
I've got Jared Goff.
Yeah.
That's my 3rd option.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you on that. So Goff kind of has an interesting career arc. If you guys remember, obviously the Rams took him number one, and he didn't look good his first year. And then McVay comes in, and he played amazing. They went to the Super Bowl. He kind of got exposed in the Super Bowl, though, did not look good whatsoever. And then he's fallen off a little bit, and clearly the Rams didn't want him, and that's why they traded him. But I still think he's all right. Like, yeah, he's going to go to a team that has a good old line.
I think he'll be like a 20 to 25 quarterback, honestly, somewhere around that range. Actually, honestly, maybe like a 17 to 20 or like around that range. Like, he'll be serviceable. He'll be decent. And I really like the pieces around him. Not wide receivers, obviously. We'll talk about that later. But I like some of the offensive pieces, and they gave him a decent offensive line. It really just depends on what the lines are doing. I really like Dave Campbell as well. So I think that he'll be all right. I don't think he's going to be flashy. He's not going to have those same stat numbers that he was putting up when he had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods catching. Yeah, but I think he'll be decent.
Yeah, I know. He went from those receivers to his starting two receivers are Tyrell Williams and Rashad Perryman, which is probably the worst in the league.
Yeah, it probably is.
It's not. There's no sugarcoating it. It is not ideal whatsoever. But their O-line is definitely better than the Rams, so like that should help because obviously he's not mobile. And I think we saw if you give him time, like 2018, he was killing teams. He has a very good motion and he's super accurate. So with time, maybe he can improve. And they're definitely going to run the ball a lot in Detroit because Anthony Lynn's the OC and he loves runs up the middle on first down. So
DeAndre Swift was looking really good last year, but injury prone. I think that, especially Anthony Lynn, he likes to play football like it's the 1980s, every single down. So DeAndre Swift is going to get a insane workload this year, but I think he'll be decent, serviceable at the minimum.
Definitely. And then next, I think we got the same one here. It's going to be Kirk Cousins. So he's kind of controversial in the sense that some people think he's really, really good, like top 10, top 8. And others think he's horrible and is the problem with the Vikings.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that. The Vikings fans hate him for some reason. I think that he's fringe top 10. I think he's close there.
Yeah, I got him in like the 12 to like 15 range. Yeah, I still think he's still solid, but they're not really doing him much wonders with their O-line. Their O-line is not the best.
Yeah,
and
it was not.
I remember, when they signed him, he was coming in after Keenum's like a magical run, and he was supposed to be the final piece to get them over the top, and clearly they haven't got back to the NFC Championship game. So I guess people blame him for that. I don't understand it. I like Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's horrible. Now, would I want him to be my quarterback? Sometimes, he's maybe not the guy.
Last year, or take me 2 months ago, I would have said yes, please.
Yeah, exactly. You could be doing worse than Kirk Cousins, but he's not going to like carry a bunch of a bad roster far. But he's still
around him. He like the numbers he produces. Like last year, I think he had 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. And the Vikings were an ICU unit last year. So, and that O-line was not good at all last year. So I think he'll be decent. I mean, he has one of the greatest receiving duos around him. So he should do good.
Yeah, I'm with you at that. And then
but it's confusing the Kellen Mond pick. That's a little bit confusing. I mean, he has 2 years left on his contract, I believe.
I guess because they also tried to trade up for Fields, or
they did.
They allegedly did. I don't think their trade offer was like
that was a terrible trade offer. They offered like 90 and 143. And
yeah,
14.
They offered a third
to move up 6 spots.
Yeah, that was. It was kind of a weak attempt, but
yeah, it was very weak.
It shows they were going to take a quarterback, and I think Kellen Mond in the third is honestly like pretty decent value. We'll see.
I really like Kellen Mond, overall. I thought that he was a better prospect. I wanted the Bears to get him in the second because I didn't think that he was going to fall out of there. But I like him over Kyle Trask, a couple of other Davis Mills. But I think he's a decent prospect. He definitely has some time to learn. He's a very raw prospect, but overall, I like him.
No, definitely. And, with 2 years to learn and maybe he comes in and he is ready and then he can take over for the Vikings. So interesting there. And then number 1, NFC North. Do you remember this article, Abdul? It was like 2 years ago, 2018. And it was the Mitchell Trubisky as like the number 1 NFC North quarterback. And it was like Rodgers
I
had 2 or
remember.
something. It was like there's a new king in the North.
And that was so stupid because Rodgers had like 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions that year. Like,
Yeah.
how is that a bad year? How?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't understand how people were doubting him, but Trubisky did look good.
He did. No,
sophomore.
he did. It was a little preemptive though, saying that
Definitely preemptive if you have MVP or was it how many MVPs does Aaron Rodgers have? 2 now or 3?
3.
3. Yeah, I think he got one in 2011,
Yes,
2014. And then, yeah, so 2-time MVP. You're going to put Mitchell Trubisky over 2-time MVP at that point.
But
absurd.
Yeah, so Rodgers, obviously number 1 quarterback in the NFC North, just came off an MVP season, a little off-season drama. He didn't show up to minicamp, mandatory minicamp, but I think he'll play. I hope so. We'd be in trouble if he doesn't. So
yeah,
I guess we'll all find out in the near future. But yeah, there's not much to debating. I don't think on that one.
Yeah, there's a big gap between those.
So NFC quarterbacks, just final breakdown, guys. The 4th was the Bears with Dalton/Fields. 3rd was the Lions with Goff. 2nd was the Vikings with Cousins, and 1st Packers with Rodgers. But now we can go to the NFC North backfields, and this is where I think it gets a little more interesting. And just I think all these backfields are honestly like really good.
Yeah, the NFC North has probably the 2nd best in backfields, other than the NFC East. The backfields are amazing in this division.
Yeah, no, and there's like not just I think it's both like. There's teams that have the upper echelon running backs like the Vikings and Packers, and then the Lions and Bears have like tons of depth. Maybe they're like starters, not like top 5, but they have other guys that are really serviceable too. So I could just read the backfields off before we even talk about them. So the Bears backfield is David Montgomery, Damian Williams, Tariq Cohen. Packers have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Vikings, Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. And then the Lions have DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. But Abdul, who do you have as the 4th best backfield in the NFC North?
At number 4, I have DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams of the Lions.
Okay, interesting. Why?
I like DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift had a good rookie year. He was very injury prone. He had the concussions. He was pretty solid though. He in the receiving game as well. He looks to be a dual threat running back. And then Jamal Williams, I liked Jamal Williams a lot when he was on the Packers. His energy, everything. I think that he's another solid option in the backfield. But I think that when you compare them to obviously the upper echelon running backs in Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook, he's not at that tier yet. Obviously, just finishing his rookie season. But I think that he has great potential, but still I'd put the other 3 running back cores above him.
Yeah, so I actually agree with you on this one. And I went back and forth because I like DeAndre Swift probably more than I like Montgomery just in the future and what I think his potential could be. But there's only 2 of them, and that's my thing. Like, I love Jamal Williams. Obviously, he was a former Packer, and he was great running, great receiving, amazing pass blocker, did it all, never fumbled, brought energy and swag that no one else really brought. So that was always awesome. But they only have 2 guys, and that's where I'm like, okay, if Swift goes down, like I worry about what they're going to do because unless they want to feed Jamal Williams over 25 times a game, which they can, it's just I don't know if he's best suited for that. That's where my issues come in. But yeah, DeAndre Swift running and catching is really solid. And I'm interested to see what they do with, because obviously we mentioned Anthony Lynn's there. So they're probably going to run the ball more than they did last year. And they've solidified their whole line, Decker, Ragnow, and Penei Sewell. Like,
I think he's set for a great year. I think 1,000 yards rushing is respectable for him.
And I think Williams could probably get 800 to 900 rushing and receiving. Yard. Yeah,
I can see that too.
Yeah, so I think both these guys combined will do really good. But we can go to the 3rd team now. And who do you have as the 3rd best running back?
I have the Bears as my 3rd best backfield. I had this take that I was going to take to the grave with me. I had them at number 1 because I was insisting that they had the best depth because they had playoff Damian, aka Super Bowl MVP, playoff Damian Williams. They had Tariq Cohen, and they have David Montgomery, who was a top 5 rusher last year and also top 5 in all-purpose yards. But toning down my expectations / as well as the David Montgomery is not close to the likes of Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones. I think those two are a level above him. Also with Tariq Cohen is rehabbing an ACL injury, so that's a little bit of a concern. But then you have Damian Williams, who's coming in to provide solid depth. We also drafted a running back, Khalil Herbert, and we got a undrafted free agent, CJ Marable. So our backfield depth-wise is looking good. I like depth, but when you're considering talent as well and production into it, I think that the other two are above them.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I like Montgomery. I don't know if he'll have as many yards as he did last year just because he was getting an absurd value.
Mouth to feed, yeah.
He was getting like over 20 to 25.
Yeah,
carries.
Towards the end of the season, he was getting 25, 30 around that. Yeah, he was getting fed.
Yeah, and he did a really good job. Like, don't get us wrong, but I don't think he'll do that again this year. And I think he's just not nearly as explosive as the other two guys and that type of athlete to where you can warrant them. But obviously, Damian Williams in the playoffs has been a beast. And I think he's like, as a number 2 or even number 3, like you throw him in there and you can trust him that, you know, he's going to make the right play. He seems to make just clutch and just like when you need a play, he'll make one. Like he's really good. And then obviously Cohen is a really, really good receiving back. Hopefully he can come back healthy. Running, I guess, obviously due to size, he can't really run between the tackles and all that. But like as a receiving threat, he's one of the best, and that's missed. And then Khalil Herbert, I really liked him out of Virginia Tech. He was one of my favorite guys that I kind of wanted the Packers to get in like the 5th or 6th round. Now they ended up getting someone else, but Herbert could be really good, and he's a really good receiving threat too.
Yeah, I think that's all fair.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think they're maybe a little better than the Lions, but I think they're almost like they're near interchangeable, like just how good both of them are. And then who do you have as the second best backfield?
I have the Packers with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I had them too. Why'd you have them at 2?
So I had them at 2 because A.J. Dillon is pretty good. I thought that they were going to keep A.J. Dillon, and I thought that they weren't going to pay Aaron Jones because we've seen what A.J. Dillon can do is when you feed him the ball. He had that one game, I think it was against the Titans, where he had, the only game that he had over more than 5 carries and he had over 120 rushing yards. Yeah, so he did good. He performed, and I thought that they were going to keep him. And Aaron Jones, obviously, he's great. He's a top 10 running back. He's one of the most explosive running backs. He's one of the running backs that has the most plays over like 75 yards. Like if you just watch his footage, he's explosive. And I thought they were going to keep A.J. Dillon and tell Aaron Jones to hit the hay like they did with Jamal Williams. But I think those two are just a great 1-2 punch. And then you factor in Aaron Jones receiving a threat as well. He's a great receiver. So I think that they're great, but I just think that they're not on the same level as Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. I also had them too. Obviously, Aaron Jones is like, he's kind of in, I wouldn't say he's like close, like you couldn't put him in the top 6, but he's somewhere in the top 10. Like,
yeah, I'd say like around that 6 to 7, around that range.
Yeah, like I'd say like he's in the tier with like Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, guys of like that type of talent. And it is top 10. So he's really good. And obviously he's one of the most explosive players. I mean, there will be games where he'll pop off and it's like a 50-yard run here or a 60-yard run here. And then, you know, obviously in the pass game too, like if he gets matched up with a linebacker, he can just kill them because he's so fast. And that's he's the really only like super explosive guy on the Packers that you can consistently count on. Like MVS is really fast, but he's not explosive where you throw him a slant and he can take it. Like, no, he needs to start running and just keep running. But Aaron Jones is incredibly explosive. And then A.J. Dillon, he's just a battering ram. I mean, they call him Quadzilla for a reason. The dude's
see the picture on Twitter of them comparing the picture of both of them, and it says these two guys play the same position. Like, the size difference is absurd.
Yeah, no, A.J. Dillon's legs are huge, and I feel like even last year when he'd get like 3 carries a game, every time he touched it, he would just fall forward at the end of every run just because of how big he is, and obviously that helps. So hopefully he'll get more touches this year, and I anticipate he will because obviously Jamal Williams is gone, and there's runs and carries to go around. So AJ Dillon should be better this year and get more touches. But I guess that leaves number one, Vikings. Why did you have them there? I think we probably have the exact same reasons.
Yeah, the Vikings, I have them because Dalvin Cook was just spectacular last year. Dalvin Cook, he had almost 1,600 yards rushing, insane receiving threat as well. One of the best, definitely. And he did that all with an offensive line that wasn't great last year. And so when you see the upgrades that they did this season, he definitely is in for a great season. I think that the other running backs, that Alexander Madison, they're not as great. We've seen them try to produce the same as Dalvin Cook. Depth-wise, they're probably the worst. They're probably the worst depth-wise because if Dalvin Cook goes down, there's no one else. But I think that Dalvin Cook, top 3 running back, his performance, his production, everything about him, just he uplifts the backfield. So he's pretty much the entire offense other than Justin Jefferson. But I think he's in for a great year as well, and that's why I have him as number one.
Yeah, I mean, I have him as number one too. Same with you. I have him as a top 3 running back. Him, Derrick Henry, and McCaffrey, you can argue them in which way, and I couldn't really debate you too much or disagree because they're all that good. And Dalvin Cook is just special, and I think what makes him good is I feel like he never goes down on the first contact. He will get hit, but
yeah,
somehow he's still up, and his explosiveness is just next level. I think he's more explosive and just straight line quicker than Aaron Jones is, and Aaron Jones is incredibly fast. You see, once Dalvin Cook, finds a crease or hits the corner, it's like people are just backpedaling or running back immediately because they're not going to be able to catch up to him. He's incredibly strong. And then his vision too, like you mentioned, their O-line isn't great. I'd say they're okay at run blocking, like way better than pass, but even then it's not like, I wouldn't say like super good. And so he probably makes them look a little better than they actually are.
No,
just
definitely
with the cutbacks and, all that he does with seeing holes and stuff. So I guess I can break down the list again. So Lions have the 4th best with Swift and Williams. Bears at 3rd with Montgomery, Damian Williams, and then Tariq Cohen. Packers 2nd with Jones and Dillon, and then Vikings. It's cooking. It doesn't matter who's after. That good.
That's true.
Cook's just that good. So that's the running backs. We can get into the trios now for receivers. So just prefacing this, how we're going to do it is we're taking the top 3 pass catching options between receiver and tight end. Running back not included. So, it could be 1 tight end. It could be 2, I guess, if they had 2 great tight ends. But most of the time it's probably going to be, their number 1 and 2 receiver and then tight end, depending on the team. But we can get started. And Abdul, who do you have as the 4th best NFC North wide receiver pass catcher?
It's hands down the Lions. TJ Hawkinson is the only receiving threat on that team. If we're going to be real, Terrell Williams and Bashad Perriman. Terrell Williams has been injury prone for the past couple of years. I liked him when he was on the Chargers, and then Bashad Perriman. He never really lived up to his worth or his expectations as a 1st-round wide receiver when he played with the Ravens and then he played with the Jets. He's never had a career year over, I think, 650 yards. So he's never had a very good year as a wide receiver. And Hawkinson had a great year last year. He had over 700 yards really with Matt Stafford. So he's going to be the only receiving option on that team. I mean, Hawkinson is a fringe top 5 tight end. And I think that he's going to take the next step next year. But that wide receiver core is not great. And the 2 names the name that wasn't included was Amon-Ra St. Brown that the Lions drafted, who I really like. But still, I think the 1 and 2 is going to be Terrell Williams and Bashad Perriman, and that's not good.
Yeah. I also had him as 4, and I'd almost argue theirs is probably bottom 3 in the league. Like,
no, definitely.
Hawkinson is amazing. Like you mentioned, like fringe top 5 tight end. Yeah, I'd probably put him in that same conversation as you, but their receiving options are just outside of that pretty abysmal. And I guess it's good for them that they're probably going to run the ball a lot because there's no reason to pass if, all you can really do is get the ball to your tight end. And maybe Perryman will pop off. He had a few good, really strong games in his career where you're like, oh, like, I could see why he was taken in the 1st round, but he's never really been able to string it together for a full season. And you worry about that, and you worry about Tyrell Williams' health, because with the Raiders and Chargers, like, he had stretches of being really good. It's just not consistent again. So yeah, they're definitely fourth for me too. And I guess I'm worried for Goff anytime he drops back. If it's not going to Hawkinson or Swift, like,
and who is he going to?
Yeah. But yeah, Lions are fourth pretty easily. Third gets interesting.
Third is very close with two to me.
Yeah, who'd you have at third?
So I had the Bears at number 3. So Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney. And then for the tight end option, Jimmy Graham, but some other receivers that we've gotten are Damiere Byrd, Marquise Goodwin. We drafted Daz Newsome. But then our tight ends, Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham. So I'd say our trio is most likely going to be Robinson, Mooney, and Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet will outsnap Jimmy Graham for the year. But I think Robinson, great. Top. I think he's like 7/8 receiver. He's definitely top 10 to me. Allen Robinson. Darnell Mooney was one of the best rookie wide receivers last year, and he's looking to take the jump with hopefully actual quarterback play this year.
Yeah.
Because we've seen him break ankles of top cornerbacks, Jalen Ramsey, but he gets the ball oversailed towards him. Jimmy Graham or Cole Kmet. Jimmy Graham, nothing crazy. He was a good red zone threat, but that's pretty much it. Like he didn't make plays in the middle of the field. He was pretty much primarily just a red zone threat. But I think when you compare them to the other receiving threats of this division, that I think they're very close to number 2. Very, very close to number 2. But I think they're very distant from number 1.
Yeah, I had him as number 3 as well. Allen Robinson, I like him. I don't know if he's top 10. I think there's like 20 receivers who are like in like the top 10 range. I think there's like 6 that are definitely there, and then there's like 7 through like 18 where it's like, oh man, this guy's really good. Like, how is he not a top 10 receiver? And I think the list just goes on for that. I don't know where I'd rank him. It's hard to rank the receivers like that, but he's really good, obviously. And I'd say he's a top 3 tight end in this division. I'd say him, Adams, and Jefferson probably would be the top 3 in my mind. So he's really good. And Mooney will be interesting to watch. Obviously, the vids of him breaking Jalen Ramsey's ankles are pretty funny, and he definitely had a lot of overthrown balls to him, or just compilations of like, you're like, wow, like this guy's getting wide open and somehow he's not getting the ball. So you hope that the quarterback play gets better, and basically like they can actually get him the ball. And then the third option for me is where the Bears kind of don't, like, you can't put them any higher, is because I'm not a big fan of Jimmy Graham. I know he's a good red zone target, but I guess out of the third guy, you'd want to see like, okay, if I get him the ball in space, like, can he get me extra yards? If it's 3rd and 10 and he catches it 5 yards short, like, can he get a first? And for Jimmy Graham, that answer is no every single time. I'd say him and Zach Ertz, probably the worst 2 after the catch that are in the NFL. Like, it is tough.
Yeah, it's not great.
He's lost something since the Saints. I think it's a lot of the injuries, and it's tough to see because he was a beast after the catch in New Orleans. Like, he was really good after the catch, but now it's like he gets touched and he's going down, and it's just sad to see it. But yeah, he's the reason I just can't put him higher. But Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney's a really good 1-2 punch. And even the third guy, I'm blanking on his name.
Marquise Goodwin.
No.
Anthony Miller.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I thought he was pretty solid
his rookie year.
Yeah, he's kind of fallen off a little bit. He's really good after the catch, though. And he could be, if he figures, I think he drops a lot of passes is one of his major issues. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's Javon Wims. Javon Wims isn't that one. But Anthony Miller isn't. He has some drop balls. He has some issues with that.
Yeah, but pretty, like, I wouldn't say that their receiving core is holding them back necessarily. It's not like, single-handedly dominating games, but it's also like not a weak part of the roster. I guess would be the best way to put it for the Bears. But who do you have at number 2, Abdul?
So I have number 2 as the Packers with Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan, and Allen Lazard. I had them at 2 because Devontae Adams was the best wide receiver in the league last year to me. Definitely top 3 at the minimum if you're going to argue for last season. But Robert Tonyan had a great year as well. Got the Pro Bowl snub. He had Evan Ingram go over him from the NFC.
Evan Ingram.
And then Lazard was injured throughout the season, but he had like 2 games where he had like 100 something receiving yards.
Yeah,
It's
against
like,
the
wow,
Saints,
this guy.
killed the Saints.
He had those good games, but then he got injured and he had to have surgery and he was out for a couple of weeks and he came back, but he just didn't have that touch for the rest of the season. But then also you have MVS who has one of the worst hands in the league, so he's not reliable in that aspect. But I think Tanyan is decent. I wouldn't put him in the top 10 tight end area. I think that Lazard is serviceable, but I think Davante Adams is just holding up that wide receiver core.
Yeah.
Putting it on his back entirely.
Yeah, I agree with you on Adams. Again, it's hard to rank. Like, how do you compare Adams to like Tyreek Hill? I think Tyreek Hill might even be the best receiver, but Adams had the best year last year, and they both have similar quarterbacks. It's hard to rank them, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I guess it depends like what you value too. Like, I value speed more than I value the best route running. So maybe I'd like Hill more. While if someone was the opposite, they'd like Adams more. All I know is at worst, Adams has got to be top 3 receiver. Like, that's the bottom line. He's incredible. The route running, the hands. I don't say his chemistry is as good as Jordy Nelson with Rodgers, but it's really good. And yeah, having Rodgers obviously helps too. But Davante Adams is a monster and gets tons of separation against pretty much anyone. So he's holding it up. Tanyan, I like him a lot. I think he did a really good job, obviously in the red zone, but I think he improved with like in between, like the 20 to 20 range and not just red zone.
Oh, definitely. He's wide open on every play. Like the first scheme for him is insane.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'd say like maybe he's a top tight end, like top 10 tight end, like borderline. I don't know. It's not like super definitive though, because like you look at guys that are just like such better athletes than he is.
That's what I'm saying. Like production-wise, I think that he'll produce like a top 10 tight end. But athleticism and skill-wise, I think that the scheme carries him. Yeah, I think the scheme fits so well with him and his like a player of his caliber.
Yeah, definitely. And then I actually really like Lazard. I'm more bullish on him than most, I'd say. One, for the fact that he's one of the few guys Adam or Rodgers trusts a lot and will like throw into a tight window and trust him to come away with it or not, like knock it away if it's not a good enough throw. And that's where I like him a lot. And then also with the blocking, he's one of the best run blocking receivers. And so that's also
he's big. He's 6'5". He's
massive. He's a huge
he's playing tight end, but he's at the receiver option and he's pretty solid. I mean, like you said, Rodgers likes to fit in tight windows. Like he threw him that cemetery ball like in the Bears game. Like he's cutting a little bit close, but I think Lazard at his size, he should produce next year. If he has those games like he did versus the Saints or even close to that, I think that he'll be decent. But Rodgers likes to pick and choose. Like Lazard will have a 150-yard receiving game, and then the next game MVS will have 140.
Yeah, it just depends who they're playing, what matchups they're getting. And then one more guy we didn't mention that could maybe slide in here is Amari Rodgers, who they took in the 3rd round out of Clemson. So he's more of like the gadget slot guy who he caught a lot of screens, was part of like the short passing game at Clemson. So yeah,
I like Amari Rodgers as well. I mean, his dad is a wide receivers coach, so he puts in the work. So he definitely puts in the work. But then Devin Funchess is coming back this year, right?
Yeah, he's coming back. I don't have like crazy expectations for him, to be honest. We'll see how he does. He obviously sat out last year because of COVID, and then the year before he was injured week 1. He got a 1-year, $14 million deal from the Colts, and he played like 1 game maybe. So he hasn't played in a while, but we'll see. He has a good attitude, and I think the fans are kind of warming up to him. He's been defending Rodgers on Twitter a lot, so I think I love him already.
Oh, for real? I need to see those tweets.
Yeah, so I'm a Devin Funchess fan now, even if he's not as good as I'd hope him to be. But that's almost going to wrap it up. But who do we have at 1, Abdul?
Number 1, we have the Vikings with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Irv Smith Jr. So I love this. I love this duo. The Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, they're insane last year. I think Justin Jefferson is I don't know if he'll replicate the season that he just had, because he just had one of the best rookie seasons for a wide receiver of all time with that 88 for 1,400. he had a great year. But I think that him, Thielen, and then Irv Smith Jr. Irv Smith Jr. is very underrated as well, because Irv Smith Jr., when you look at the line of priority for that team, Dalvin Cook's number one, or receiving wise, Justin Jefferson number one. You have Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and then Kyle Rudolph was above him as well. So Kyle Rudolph, he's gone. He's gone now. He's with the Giants.
Irv
right?
Smith, though, yeah, I think he's with the Giants.
So he should get more of the target share that he did in before, because he was only recording like 350-yard receiving, 375, like around that range. So I think that he's a solid piece, but I think that duo is just insane. That duo is top 3 or top 5 around that range.
Yeah, I'm with you. So Thielen and Jefferson. Thielen's been there for a while, and then they traded Diggs for a first-rounder to the Bills, and they took Jefferson, and that has been one of the most like win-win trades I think we've seen in NFL history. Like, it could not have benefited both teams like more than it has. So that was awesome. And then Jefferson, one of the best rookie years for a receiver ever. I don't think he should have won Rookie of the Year. It should have been Herbert all the way, in my mind, but that doesn't take away from what Jefferson did. Like, Jefferson, he played amazing. He deserved votes and all that. Just, I don't think he deserved to win. And when you combine that with Thielen, who just consistently has been a top 20 receiver, I don't know where exactly on the list he would be, but he's consistently been really, really good. And then I like Irv Smith Jr. They took him in the second round. Obviously Rudolph was there, and now he's there. I think he can be a really, really good replacement and like a complimentary third guy. So I'm pretty bullish on Irv Smith Jr. And I am
too. I like him a lot. He just needs more of that target share.
Exactly. And Kirk Cousins is really, really accurate if you just give him more than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. So we'll see how they do. But to wrap it up, Lions have the 4th, Bears 3rd, Packers 2, Vikings 1st. I'd say 2nd and 3rd are probably the closest. I don't think the Lions are close to anybody. I guess the Vikings are kind of close, but I definitely I don't think it's really debatable that they're the 1st. But that's their wide receiver trios. And there was a couple comments. Will Darnell Mooney be a Pro Bowler this year? Abdul and Blake.
I think that's a little bullish on him. I think that he'll have a great year, especially if Justin Fields is starting. I think that so he had 631 receiving yards last year. I think this year around that range, 850, 900, hopefully. But Pro Bowler, I don't know. Give him 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say so. He had 600 in the 600 range for yards. I think he'll I was gonna say 850 was my guess is how much he'll get. Like,
fair.
900 probably, and that's even then. Like, if he doesn't get it, I guess tough because they have a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. But getting a Pro Bowl is a little. I don't think it'll be this year. I don't know if he'll get it even next year either. It's tough to say. Especially because there's so many good receivers, especially in the NFC. Like, there are just so many good receivers. I mean, he's not even the top 4 receiver in his own division, which is crazy to think. It's just there's just a lot of good receiver talent in the NFL right now. So I wouldn't put him there, but
give him a couple years. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
we need to get Allen Robinson in there first. That's who we need to get.
Yeah, that's absurd that he didn't get it. Especially All Pro. Yeah, like Cole Beasley over Allen Robinson last year.
Cole Beasley over anyone last year was kind of I'm surprised he got any votes, but no, Amin, we don't think he will do that.
Sadly not.
And then another question from Amin, how did I meet Vish? Well, we both, Abdul as well, we all live in the Chicagoland area, so within like 5 minutes of each other, so that's how we all know each other. We all went to high school together, and I went to elementary school with Vish, so that is how we all know each other. And then Kevin Wang asked, where is Vish? He is busy, I believe. I don't think he's working anymore, but he's busy with other stuff. He's got a lot of work to do, so he could not make this one, but we'll try to get me, Abdul, and Vish on sometime in the near future. But we can move on now to the last topic. We probably won't touch on this too much just because it's really hard to talk about it. and we don't watch. I guess I don't watch the O lines as much
Yeah,
and
me
study
neither.
them too crazy. But we're gonna rank them, and these are more loose rankings. This is just what we think. We know the top two are set kind of where they are. I think we can agree on that.
I
But
think 4 and 3 are very close or around the same range.
yeah, yeah. So who do you have as your fourth ranked O line?
So I have the Vikings at 4. Some of their players from their offensive line are Darisaw, Cleveland, Bradbury, Davis, O'Neal. I like the pick that they had in the first round this year. They drafted Christian Darisaw.
Mm-hmm.
He was a solid pick because they moved down to get him. They traded with the Jets, and the Jets gave them a couple of thirds, and they drafted him at 23, I believe. And the Jets took Elijah Vera Tucker, so they got their guy. I was very high on Darisaw. I thought Darisaw was going to be a top 15 pick with the amount of offensive tackle prospects in this class and how many teams need one. But I also like what they're building around there. It was definitely better than last year. They lost Riley Reef to the Bengals, so I don't know how that'll work out. But I think that the offensive lines in this division are just better. But I think that number 3 is very close to them as well.
Yeah, I also had them as fourth. I think the Darisaw pick was awesome. Like they traded down and still got him, and they probably would have taken him there. So like the value there is insane. They got 2/3, which is also you can't complain about at all. So that was awesome. They did lose Riley Reef. Again, I don't know. I feel like Bengals fans have been making a big deal about him for whatever reason. I'm not completely sold. I think he's a pretty solid tackle, but nothing that, when you get Riley Reef, your O-line is just completely finalized and set. So, but yeah, Darisaw was great. But yeah, I mean, they just struggle pass blocking like so tremendously. I mean, you watch any Vikings game and when they're passing a lot, and it's like how is Kirk Cousins like still standing back there? Because the pocket collapse is just so fast, and that's why I think Kirk's underrated. And just the fact that he's standing back there delivering darts from a pocket that just collapses from all sides like instantly, it seems. So yeah, I have them as fourth. I think they're pretty solid run blocking though. Like they're not like a horrible run blocking. I'd say they're average to maybe pretty decent at it. So at least they have that going for them, I guess. But who do you have as number 3, Abdul?
So number 3, I have the Chicago Bears. Their offensive line, they have projected at left tackle is Tevin Jenkins, who they drafted in the second round, 39th overall in this year's draft. At left guard, we'll most likely have Cody Whitehair, and at center, Sam Mustipher. At right guard, James Daniels, and at right tackle, it'll most likely be Jermaine Ifedi versus Larry Borum, and Larry Borum was the 5th round offensive tackle that we drafted out of Mizzou. So I think that the offensive line will be decent this year. I'm not expecting a lot. I mean, last year, the beginning of the season was not great. But the thing is, we were facing some of the best D lines in football: the Steelers, the Rams, the Colts, all those teams.
Packers.
The line, yeah, the Packers too. So we didn't really get it together until towards the end of the season when we started playing worse teams. But also the formation, we suffered injuries. But I'm very high on Tevin Jenkins as a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
We also lost James Daniels. James Daniels tore his pectoral muscle in the beginning of the season. So losing your best offensive lineman is not great. But I'm very high on a comeback this year. I hope that we'll be better. But I think that overall they're decent. Mustipher, an undrafted free agent at center, is solid. We moved Cody Whitehair to left guard, his true position actually, because he played for center for the Bears for several years. But I like the formation right now. I think that will be decent, average around there. But overall, what do you think?
Yeah, I had them at 3 as well. I love Tevin Jenkins. I was kind of on the I hope the Packers draft Tevin Jenkins in the first round, end of first round. I wouldn't have been mad. Mm-hmm. I love his run blocking. Obviously, that's incredible. Pass blocking, he's pretty good, but maybe leaves a little to be desired. But his run blocking is special, and he sets the tone. And also the fact that he's the babyface assassin is kind of funny too.
Oh yeah, they've been murdering him on Twitter. He does not look like the player that he is. The ruthless player.
He's a mauler too, and then he just has he literally looks like a kid. So I think that's hilarious. But I like him a lot. And yeah, like you mentioned, they had a lot of injuries last year, which when you have a revolving door at quarterbacks, you have a lot of injuries on the O-line. It's just a bad recipe.
Yeah, it was a bad combination.
But I feel like towards the end of the year, they kind of had a more continuity in that group and kind of figured it out more. And they ran the ball well towards the end of the year. So like there's hope there at least. But yeah, I don't think they're even close to these top two teams in the NFC North. I think they're clearly a step or two above. And then the Bears and the Vikings are pretty similar, but the Bears have, I guess it's promising that they're getting people back from injury, and then Tevin Jenkins is in there too.
And then possibly Morgan Moses, the right tackle from the Washington football team.
Oh, is he gonna?
Yeah, they met with him last week. So
okay, that'd be huge. Yeah, that'd be incredible if they got him. He was insane a few years ago. I feel like I haven't heard that name in just forever, but that would be a big signing for the Bears.
Yeah,
but we can get to 1 and 2. And who did you have at number 2?
So number 2, I had the Detroit Lions. Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, Vitae Jackson. They have a decent O-line, and I love the Sewell pick. Where they picked him 7th overall. You saw the video of them in the war room just jumping around.
Yeah,
because they got Sewell. I like all around that offensive line. I think that it's great. I'm interesting. It's very interesting that they'll put Penei Sewell at right tackle because they have Taylor Decker at left. So I'm curious to see how they perform with that. But I think that they'll be great this year, especially with run blocking because they have Anthony Lynn who wants to run the ball every single down. But overall, I really like their line, but I think that it's not on the same level as number 1.
Interesting. So I actually think the Lions and the Packers is like incredibly close. I love the Lions.
You think so?
Yeah,
I'm very high on the Packers.
Yeah, no, I'm high on both of them. I think they're both like top 5 to 6 units or O-lines, like in that range. But I'm gonna go Lions too, and it's just because I haven't seen Sewell play a snap in the NFL. I'm with you. I thought he was the best, like a top. I think he should have been a top 3 pick in most drafts. You know, obviously there was a huge run on quarterbacks that we usually aren't going to see that big of a run. But the fact that he fell to 7 was crazy. I don't think he should have fell past 5. I wouldn't have even been so mad if the Falcons took him at 4 because I think he's that good. I think he'll hold down the right side of their line for a long, long time. And then Taylor Decker is one of the best left tackles in the league. So having 2 tackles that are elite or who have the potential to be elite is scary. And then Frank Ragnow is an incredible center. I want to say he was a Pro Bowler this past year. I'd have to double check on that, but he's really good. And
he was great. He was right next to Lindsley last year.
Yeah, and I know he got a fat contract.
He did?
Yeah, he got an extension in May. It was a 4-year, $54 million a year contract. So that's all you need to say. He got a lot of money because he's incredible. And then Vitae from the Eagles, I think he was all right last year. I know he got paid a lot to be a tackle, and maybe that didn't work out, but he can move along the line decently. So I'm very high on their O-line, honestly. I think they're going to be special, especially with Sewell in there because he looks to be just like an actual generational talent. I mean, he was 18 years old and he was dominating college football, which you don't see that very often. There's a reason he was taken as high as he was, and he probably should have been taken higher. So, yeah, Lions have an incredible O-line. I'd put it slightly below the Packers just because we don't know how Sewell will be. But if he's as good as advertised, I don't think it would even be like crazy to say they're the best O-line in the NFC North. I really don't.
If he's exactly what we think he is as a prospect, then definitely. I think I'm very high on the Packers O-line as well. But I think that if he definitely performs at that right tackle position, he should have definitely been a higher pick. The Bengals need an offensive line, which they drafted later. The Dolphins need to fix up their O-line a little bit. So many teams that could have gone him that didn't. And even the Falcons, Matt Ryan was running for his life last year. He was one of the most sackable quarterbacks. So I'm kind of astonished how they didn't choose to pick him. But that was definitely a steal for the Lions.
Yeah. And then who'd you have at 1? I think you had Packers. We both do. But why did you have them?
The Packers O-line last year was insane. I think that Bakhtiari, so some of the players, Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Myers, Billy Turner, Runyon. I love some of the O linemen on the Packers, and the Packers offensive line coach is insane. Every single time.
The GOAT. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he is the GOAT, because you take anyone in the late rounds or in the draft, and he turns them into Pro Bowlers. Like, Elton Jenkins is one of the best offensive linemen like I've seen. He's universal. He can play anything. He is insane. You can plug him in at any position, and he'll excel at that. And Bakhtiari, I think, is the best left tackle in the league. You can argue Trent Williams, but he's definitely top 3.
They're close.
Yeah, in that range. I like Billy Turner a lot. But yeah, Bakhtiari, it's going to be interesting to see how he recovers back from the ACL tear. I don't know how that much that affects specifically towards offensive linemen, their recovery, because we know with some positions like running back, it hurts a lot more than offensive line. But I think that he'll be back and better than ever, hopefully blocking in spectacular form. But I think that the Packers O-line was last year, I think it was definitely top 5. It was definitely top 5 last year, and I expect it was the same.
Yeah, I'm with you. David Bakhtiari, some call him Blocktiari. He's a top 3 left tackle in the game. Not much more needs to be said. Elton Jenkins, probably my favorite O-lineman on the team, just because, like,
so versatile, man.
Yeah, he played like every position, but Billy Turner's the most underrated because he played right guard, right tackle, and left tackle. Now, he wasn't the best left tackle, but he did a pretty good job considering he's usually on the right side. And the fact that we have those two that can play in cover pretty much any position is like the most invaluable thing with injuries, because injuries happen all the time to O-linemen. And sometimes if you lose like 1 or 2 O-linemen, like your O-line, just your play goes drastically down. So it's nice having those guys that can fill in anywhere. And then they took Myers in the 2nd round. So he's going to come in for Lindsley. He's the center out of Ohio State. I don't know. It's hard to like grade a center.
It was watching the draft. I was kind of surprised that they didn't go Creed Humphrey, who went directly after.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were on him, really high on him. I guess my thing is like I just trust the Packers. You know, if they think that Myers is better,
coach, honestly, could take anyone and make them the GOAT. But back to Bakhtiari. I saw this. What made me completely sold on Bakhtiari as the best left tackle in the league. I saw this YouTube compilation, this video, and it says every time that Bakhtiari false starts, the video gets slower. He is so good at starting just a millisecond. His timing is insane. It goes unnoticed to the eye how quick he is with snapping. Oh my! It's like Bakhtiari is great. I hope that he comes back because he was definitely missed in the playoffs, especially the NFC Championship game. You saw the impact that Bakhtiari being gone left on the team. So hopefully he comes back in full fashion. But that O-line is just great.
Yeah, that was a huge loss, and they did cut. So they cut Jared Valdir, who played a little bit last year, and so John Runyon was a guard we took in the 6th round last year, who played a little bit last year at, I think it was left guard, and he did a solid job. I think he'll probably play right guard this year, and they'll kick Turner to right tackle, but he was solid for a 6th rounder. You can't really complain if he comes in, does a solid job. I mean, his name wasn't called too much, so he couldn't have been getting, absolutely demolished out there, which I guess is all you can really ask for out of a backup O-lineman. So just to recap the list, Packers at 1, Lions 2. Those two are almost interchangeable depending how Sewell turns out. And I guess Myers to a lesser extent, because if he's bad, you never know with the Packers O-line. But and then Bears 3, Vikings 4. The Bears and Vikings are relatively close. They're not close to the top 2 at all, but they're solid, and that's the O-line. So there was a couple comments. Pinor, one of the Packers, one of the GOATs, doesn't want to wish Fields bad luck. Just wants Lance to be better.
No, that's fair. I really like Lance with the 49ers system.
No, that'll be interesting how Shanahan does with a running quarterback, because in the past, or the
he never had that. He had Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo beforehand, so he's never.
He had RG3 on the.
When he was on the football team
a while ago, and he was pretty good his rookie year. So you never know. But we'll see. And then Jamil said Slater's better.
Slater better.
Sewell. That sounds like some Chargers propaganda. I'm not so sure about that. That's a Chargers fan's take on it. But yeah, that'll wrap up the stream. Thank you all for watching. We're gonna do another one of these vids where we do the defensive side of the ball. And then again, make sure to check out Abdul's channels. In the description, there's a link where you can get all of his stuff. So ChiBearsBlitz, if you want to just check in on the Bears for a little bit. I know most of you guys are Niners fans, but still. And then if you want to see Real Talk, which is he does that with Jamil, who's here in the comments, and then a few others as well, where it's more general NFL. And check out his TikToks. One of them has over 130K views, which is pretty insane. Like, shout out to that. That's kind of crazy. And yeah, just check out his other content. You'll really like it. It's right here again in the comments. So check that out. I know you guys will like it. And we're going to try to get Abdul back on the channel in the near future to give us some NFC North takes on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see where he puts Jalen Johnson and Roquan Smith and all them. So
Jalen Johnson, number one.
Yeah, number one over Jair, definitely. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Abdul, and thank you all for watching.
No, I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, and we'll be back in the near future.